Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you might be. My name is Sean, and I'm delighted you're joining us for today's ESBC community webinar. Today I'm joined by Wolfgang Strasser, MVP, who will cover Let's talk about data governance and how Microsoft Fabric brings it to the next level. We love hearing what you guys have to say, so remember to join in the conversation about today's webinar. Our handle is @ESBC_community and our hashtag is #ESBC25. Tweet us, tag us, and tell us what you learned. Don't forget to check out our Learning Hub, which is updated with the latest blogs, ebooks, webinars, and how-to videos. You can access and view the Learning Hub by visiting our website, sharepointeurope.com, and clicking the Content tab at the top. Don't let the learning stop here. Continue to keep up and stay ahead by joining us for our next webinar. Accelerate your AI journey with Microsoft Viva with Pascal Brunner, MVP. This webinar will take place Wednesday, 19th of February, at 11 a.m. 12 p.m. CET. For more information on this webinar, please check out www.sharepointeurope.com/register for webinars. Elevate your Microsoft Power Platform skills at the European Power Platform Conference in Vienna on the 16th and 19th of June 2025. Learn the latest in Power Apps, Power Automate, and Dynamics 365 while connecting with experts and peers. Scan the QR code or register today at www.sharepointeurope.com/European Power Platform Conference. Speak at the European Microsoft Fabric Community Conference. Share your expertise on Microsoft Fabric, Power BI, Azure SQL, data engineering, real-time intelligence, and more with a global audience. Join to learn what makes a great session proposal. Key topics we're looking for and tips for a successful session at www.sharepointeurope.com/submit to speak European Fabric Community Conference. This Valentine's, fall in love with ESBC 25 with insights from Microsoft, hands-on learning, and amazing networking opportunities. It's a perfect match for your professional growth. Treat yourself, you're worth it. Get your tickets at www.sharepointeurope.com/pricing. As always, if you have any questions at any stage, please feel free to type in the questions box and Wolfgang will get to them during the webinar. This webinar will be recorded and added to the Resource Center where you'll be notified by email when it is available. And now, I'm going to pass you over to today's webinar presenter, Wolfgang. Hello, Wolfgang. Thanks for joining us today.
Hello, everyone. Just give me a second.
Yeah, I can see your screen.
Yeah, perfect. So, welcome, and thanks for joining in for roughly an hour about data governance, Microsoft Fabric, and Microsoft Purview. My name is Wolfgang, and I'm a data consultant living and working in Austria, beautiful Austria. It's a picture around my hometown, and I'm working as a data consultant in a small consultancy company called ACP Cubido. And what we do is, well, we build analytic solutions. I started building data warehouses years ago, but now we moved into the cloud, and now we are mainly focusing on building new solutions based on Microsoft Fabric. What we've seen in the past is where data does happen, does it come from, where to, what happens on the way, who's responsible. We've seen is it's not only the technical solution to build the new fancy lakehouse architecture in Microsoft Fabric. It's more about the overall topic. So who's responsible? Is there a trust in that data available? Because maybe data quality is a thing. Maybe we don't know who's responsible for that piece of data, for the data context and so on. So it's really important to know more. And that's the story behind my next 55 minutes, where I will guide you through data governance, Microsoft Fabric, and Microsoft Purview. What else can I tell you about? Well, there are some links on it. Just have a look at my blog. I record some videos and I speak at conferences. So Maybe we will see each other at an upcoming conference in Vienna, the Fabric conference. I really hope to be there. And with that, let's start. So today, I would like to talk, as I said, about data governance, about Microsoft Fabric, and about Microsoft Purview. And the big question is it a love or is it a love-hate relationship? So I will guide you through the book of data governance. So I will talk about what actually is data governance, and don't expect the university degree lecture about data governance. It's more coming from the practical, from the technical side. And also think about the next chapters. So what's Purview, what's Fabric, how they work together, and what are the governance functionalities that are built into Fabric, and how at the end of the session, Purview and Fabric work together. So with that, let's start and talk about data governance. I could have started with the definition of data governance. And usually when we do workshops together with our customers, let's imagine 5 people in the room, we get at least 5 different definitions of data governance. So it's not really easy to define data governance because, well, I'm a consultant and we are 5 minutes into the webinar. It depends. Data governance, think about it, you should know more about your data. You should know who's responsible for that piece of data. What are the transformations that are done on that data? And what are the other systems that really rely on your created order entry in your ERP system, for example? So it's about the policies, it's about the processes. So what are the data processes? What are the policies? Maybe, for example, GDPR. What are the legal requirements that are really needed for your company to follow based on your data work? And it's also about the people. So who's working with your data? Who's the person that is responsible for entering order entries? Who's the person that is responsible for defining the required attribute for an order or a customer? And last but not least, it's about the technology. So technology, in the case of data governance, to be honest, it's not the solution. Technology should be there and is there to support you and get you faster to a better level of data governance. And when I talk about when's the top level of data governance reached? Never. Because data governance, it's an ever-changing process. So we usually don't start a data governance project, because data governance is a process. Your data landscape changes. There are new legal requirements coming that you have to follow. So you have to adapt your data governance strategy and your data governance framework to the changing data landscape in your environment. And if I would Google, Bing, search for data governance in the internet, I would find millions of different definitions, but I brought you one. And it's a quite easy one. Treat your data better. Think about who's responsible, what to do with your data, and maybe what are the other people that really depend on the data the data entry you are creating now. So that is really a thing, and it's not the technology that brings data governance. It's more like the people, the process, the thinking. So it's more an organizational change and not directly the technology you put on your data, and data governance is on green. No. And with that, well, yeah, I usually put that treat your data better under my LinkedIn posts and so on. So it's you should care about your data. And now it's about Microsoft Fabric. The Microsoft Fabric, maybe you've heard about Microsoft Fabric before, maybe you've not heard about that before. And that's why I quickly want to go and give you an idea what actually Microsoft Fabric is. Think about the past years where we built data solutions in Microsoft Azure using those 50, 70, 100 different data services that are out there. Different services to store the data, to transform the data, to integrate the data, to analyze the data, to build semantic models, and to report or build reports on that models. So it was not that quite easy to pick the right solution and the cost-effective solution for the customer. We had choices. We had many choices. Azure SQL database in small scale, Azure SQL database in a large scale. We had Synapse Analytics. We had a data lake. We had different shapes of integration mechanisms. So it wasn't really easy to find the optimal solution. And almost 2 years ago, Microsoft introduced Microsoft Fabric. And they call it the universal analytics solution. So it's the integrated solution to provide you with one piece of software with different workloads. So what you see over here, those are the different workloads that are available in Microsoft Fabric. So we've got a workload to integrate data, data factory. We've got a workload to deal with real-time intelligence, for databases, for analytics, for Power BI, so semantic models and reports. And one might say that that looks quite the same as we had before. So we had different services that work together. Well, there is one big change. And when I say one, it's that difference. And that was the thing that really amazed me also in the beginning, because the One Lake, as you can see over here, is the central piece of storage. Every one of those workloads, they know how to work with data in One Lake. And within Fabric, One Lake is the only piece of storage mechanism where you can put your data. So One Lake is a central data lake, but it's a software as a service data lake. You don't have to care about management and so on. Microsoft/Fabric does it for you. And what is really nice, that One Lake, they support a common and open format standard. So they are based on the Delta table. So everything that is put into the One Lake, and that can be, for example, written by Data Factory, analyzed using notebooks over here, and give back to Power BI, all those artifacts, they rely on the same data storage. So it's Delta tables that are stored here. And we've got Microsoft Purview. Microsoft Purview, and I will talk about Purview later on, as the data security, governance, and compliance suite. So really the tool that focuses on the security and compliance aspects. And we've got the Copilot in here. So Copilot in different flavors, in different workloads of Fabric, and that is really a thing where it pops up and helps you to get better. But the overall idea in Fabric is you've got one portal, you've got different workloads, but you've got one storage, one format to store your data, which for me sounds like nice, especially when I put on the data governance hat and think about, okay, we've got one piece where we store the data, so one place, we've got one tool to work with, and maybe in the future, in the initial announcements, there was the one security layer announced. Maybe we've got one piece where, or one place where all the security is placed. So from a data governance perspective, well, that sounds really nice. But, well, there is something going on, because that would be the ideal world, and we have to deal with something. Because data governance, it's not only about data storage. So there are more pieces we have to think about when we talk about governance and data governance in Microsoft Fabric. So if we talk about data governance, I put some of the pieces, some of the ideas on that page, and there are many, many more. So when we think about governance, well, we have to think about access definitions. We have to think about security. We have to think about security, who's allowed to work with the data, but also how to connect Fabric to your existing infrastructure. Who's allowed to work with the workspaces? Who's allowed to create workspaces? Different tenant settings like export to web, export data. Who's allowed to install, configure, and work with gateways, integrations with external services, and collaboration with external people. So it's much, much more than just one storage and everything is done. And when we think about that, well, we have 4 different areas, and I will focus on those 4 different areas in the upcoming minutes. So it's about the topic how to manage your data estate. So think about access definition, tenant settings, all the things that makes your life as a Fabric administrator easier. Next, it's about security. So think about how to secure your inbound and outbound connections, how to secure that only the right people have access to your Power BI or your Fabric data. And manage compliance. So maybe you've got some compliance rules in your company for all those M365 documents, SharePoint, Teams, and so on. And you can extend that one now to your items in Fabric. So I will show it in a later on demo. And it's about third pillar, about data trust, about data discovery. So we need to think about how can we expose the data that is already there in Fabric to other people. And there are data catalogs. There are data catalogs at different levels, and I will show you two levels. A local catalog, the One Lake catalog, which deals with all the data that is in Fabric, and the Purview data catalog that has a broader range to really talk and show you all the artifacts that are there, all the systems that are there in your data estate. And last but not least, it's more or less to close that circle, it's to monitor. You have to track all the metrics like the usage, the billing, the access, and so on. Some insights about how many of those security things have been applied. So that is really a thing we should not forget about. And let's dive into it. First of all, let's start with the tenant settings. So when we talk about tenant settings, I'm gonna bring in the first demo over here. And maybe you've seen the admin portal of Fabric. Maybe you've not seen it because you're not a global admin, a Fabric administrator. So for those of you that haven't seen it, it's the governance portal that is your entry point. And when I open that one, maybe you've been there, but the list was shortened on your way. Maybe you've only seen capacity settings and not that more. For me, now it's time to talk about the tenant settings. And the tenant settings, those are the global settings that are really there to configure all the, let's say, boundaries for your Fabric environment, for different people, different groups in your organization. And if we scroll down, we see different groups like the Microsoft Fabric group, help and support, domain management, workspace settings, and so on. And here is one that you should really think about. The list of tenant settings gets longer, not every month, but it gets longer and longer over the time. And one of those first settings you should think about, that one is my demo tenant. So I enabled it for the entire organization, but who's in the group that is allowed to create new workspaces. So that is one of the things I usually recommend for our customers to think about and to turn on or turn off that switch. What you can do is you can enable that one, or you can limit that one to specific security groups. So that is really a thing where we can turn on a specific feature and limit that one to another group. And there are others like export, information protection, export and sharing, so publish to web and so on, everything that can be controlled and should be controlled for the users in there. So if you've never seen that before, there is a good documentation about all the different settings. And maybe you've felt like one of those settings was disabled for you because you couldn't export your data to Excel. And then there was the message, okay, that has been disabled by your administrator. That page is nice, but it's not the best for an overview. What we can do is we can search for some keywords in here, and the list of tenant settings gets smaller. And you can search and open that one and enable that one and add a security group for a specific setting. But the community out there helped us to provide us with some more information. So first of all, it was Microsoft that provided us with APIs to read out all the tenant settings. And with that use, we can create some solutions to export the tenant settings, store it somewhere, and provide some reports. And I will show you a demo of one of those possible reporting frameworks, but there are many solutions out there. So for example, Just, a data platform MVP, he wrote blog posts and he published all the required elements that you need to export the tenant settings to a data lake, to a database, and you can do some analytics and some trends, like when has that setting been turned on or turned off. So tenant settings is one of those start things you should consider. Yeah, demo already done. Another one, and maybe you've seen that one, so data lineage. I said I work as a data consultant, and when building data warehouses, analytics solutions, we get that question very, very often. Where does the data actually come from? And I think you've seen that before if you used Power BI in the past, the lineage view. So it's quite hidden in the settings. That one is the detailed, well, tabular view, but we can change to the lineage view over here. And what you get back is the graphical representation of all the items that are in your Fabric environment, in your Fabric workspace, sorry, and how they are connected. And if I move to that one, I can highlight and show the lineage. Or I take that one specific notebook and I see how all the pieces are connected to each other. And we get back to like the data sources for that specific lakehouse, if there are some references in there. Remember, data lineage is important, and data lineage in Fabric is there, but it's limited to the boundaries of Fabric. So we've got the sources that are in Fabric, and we've got the reports at the end. So there is a direct lake report over here. That one is the end of the knowledge of the lineage itself in Fabric. Later on, I will show you Purview as a more, let's say, generic overview, a unified catalog to look more into the data lineage. But data lineage, very important to track all the references, to track the data, the data flow in your environment. Next, it's about data trust and reliability. What you can do, and that one is already there since Power BI, not year one, but it's there for years. Maybe you've heard about the concept of endorsement. And what you can do is you can place, I usually call it like you put a flag on an item in your environment. And what you can do is, and I will show it in the live demo over here, back to the overview. So what you see, and I filter, not filter, but sort it by the endorsements. So what you can see, I've got a lakehouse over here that has an endorsement of certified and another one that has been promoted. So there are different levels of endorsement. And what you can do is you can tell your data engineers, your semantic modelers, that they can endorse some items. And that's very easy. You just need to go over here to the settings. Oh, sorry. Nope. Over here, you go over here, settings, and what you get here is the endorsement page. And what you can do, well, none is the default. Promoted, it's I usually compare it to some web shops. People that bought or used that lakehouse, well, there's a promo, you could use that other lakehouse too. The promo endorsement, that is open to everyone. The certified endorsement level, that is really an important one because that one can be secured. So it's a tenant setting where you can say only that security group can put that certified label on it. In many of our customer environments, we use it if the data set, the semantic model, the report, the lakehouse has been checked based on a checklist, like only trusted sources. The measures have been tested. There has been some validation by the department itself, and then we can add the certified flag. And what is really, really nice, if some users start to connect using Power BI desktop, for example, to your Fabric environment, they get the certified items like listed on top. So that is really a nice thing where you can tell the people, okay, if there are two data sets, semantic models that are named the same, like sales data, and there is one a certified one, well, you can trust that one, because not everybody by default can set the certified level. So another way of building more information, some metadata around your artifacts in your Fabric environment. So that is the endorsement thing. Another thing, how you can better prepare and better, like, let's say, enhance the information that is in your Fabric environment, it's the concept of tags. That one is quite new, and that one was introduced, I think, last year, summer, autumn time, something like this. And tagging is also a way, it's similar to the endorsement. The endorsement only provides you with the promoted and the certified level, but with tags, you can define your own tags. And those tags can be defined centrally. So we can head over to the admin portal, and there is tags. And I can add a new tag, which is called the webinar data. I add that one, and it's available here. As you can see, I've got two others and the new one over here. And we can set tags also at the item level. And you see it here. Okay, I've got my lakehouse already has the financial data tag, but I can head over here again, settings and tags, apply the webinar tag over here, close that one. And if I hover over that one, okay, I see that I've got the tagging over there. All those things I tell you now about how to add some more information, how to add metadata into it, will come clearer in a few minutes when I show you like the approach and how to work and how to discover data in your environment. So let's move on to the missing pieces over here. Another missing piece that allows you to structure your Fabric environment is the domains concept. And the domains concept is also, configured in the admin portal. And with domains, you can define and structure your Fabric data estate into data domains. And you can create, like in my example, a finance domain, and you can create subdomains, so like controlling domains. And imagine the domain concept in Fabric is used as a logical boundary, and that logical boundary can be put around workspaces. So we've got workspaces in Fabric, and we can assign one workspace to a domain. And with that, we can tell the data users, those are looking for data in your Fabric environment, we can tell them, okay, if you want to deal with finance data, controlling data, sales data, whatever, the list of available items is filtered down. And we are almost there where it will come together. So domains, tags, endorsements, those are the things where we can add more information around and on top of our Fabric items. So that is really a thing. If you've implemented your data architecture in Fabric, think about how to endorse, how to add some tags and group your data into domains. And last but not least, data governance, it's also data security that we have to think about. And there are many different layers where data security is there in Fabric. Initially, I told you about the one security, so that single security layer, that one is coming in the future, but we've got the different levels that are there and sufficient to secure your data. There are mechanisms to deal with the inbound and outbound security, how to connect your Fabric workspace securely to your already secured managed VNets in your infrastructure and so on. There is a security layer where we can define the different access levels at workspace level, and also down to the item level. And we've got data security. Data security, think about that row level security thing where I, as a user from the Cubido.at domain, is only allowed to see data from the Cubido.at domain. So that one can be built and is built into Fabric 2. And also object level security. So that one deals with the item security. Am I allowed to see that table? Am I allowed to connect to that lakehouse as viewer or editor too? And on the top, not on the bottom, sorry, you see all the other pieces that are really, really needed in the context of security. So regulations, data encryptions, auditability, high availability, information protection. So when we talk about that information protection, another short demo for that one. So what you can do, maybe in your company you already have those semantic or sensitivity labels applied that can be applied to documents like SharePoint documents and for example here, what you can do is you can add sensitivity labels. And those sensitivity labels are the same and can be used in Fabric too. Again, settings page. And what we can do, it's the sensitivity labels. And that is the same structure as you would see in SharePoint Online, in Outlook to label your emails. It's the same structure. And what is really nice, and I'm going to move back to the lineage view over here, the pieces are connected. Fabric knows what are the relationships, what are the items that are dependent on my other artifacts. And if I change the sensitivity label over here from highly confidential to all employees, well, Fabric recognizes, oh, there are some impacted information, so there are items that are connected, and all these sensitivity labels are inherited. So that is really, really a nice piece. You have the same labels in SharePoint, you have the same labels in Fabric, and all the connections, the lineage, Fabric knows about it and inherits that one to the others. And where does it all come together? Well, I talked about to add some tags, to add endorsements, to add sensitivity labels. And now it would be nice to have a place where we can search for everything that is in our Fabric environment. And there is such a place. The place is called OneLake Catalog. And with the OneLake Catalog, I think it's easier to explain if I just move here. You find it here. It's in the menu, the OneLake Catalog. And what you see is a list of, well, all items, my items, what are the endorsed items. And if I just select that one, what you see, only those items that have an endorsement label applied are listed here. So as I said before, everything comes together. And when I talk everything comes together, we can search for that one and we can filter down to the finance department, and down from hundreds of items, we are down to 2 because I filtered the endorsement level or endorsement items. I filtered down to the data domain, and now I'm going to use the tags. So let's filter to the financial data, and it really brings me to a specific Fabric item. Maybe in your case, it will be not only one, but a little bit more, but I can open that one. And that is the built-in data catalog, the thing where you can search for information. You can filter by keyword. So I could have started with like another lake house to search in there. And what we get is the structure. So we've got the schema over here. We've got all the information over there, starting from endorsement levels to the tags. We've got the data owner in here. We've got the location. So it's in the Fabric workspace 02. We've got the sensitivity label here. What we can also do, well, data lineage, and put it to the graphical one. So again, similar thing as we've seen in the overall data lineage view or list view, where we get all the direct connections in there. Another very important stuff, well, sometimes, in my case, I haven't added any recent runs for the lakehouse, but think about the pipeline or whatever, or a Spark notebook, you could see the monitoring information over here. And well, that's a thing. We can also add some favorites to say, okay, another lakehouse, it's my favorite. And I can start my data journey using the One Lake data catalog and get to the internals of that lakehouse. But there is more. Like last week, we got, I was at a conference last week, and during the keynote, there was one of the new features demoed. So in the One Lake catalog, we had the Explore tab, but now we've got the Govern, the preview part in here. And if it loads, let's give me a second. What we have is a governance overview. So we start, well, it takes too long. Let's move over here. I've got a screenshot over there. So in the governance part, we've got the overview. How many items are there? What was like the refresh time frame? Like I have many items that have been refreshed 4 months ago. And what I really like is the recommended action section. So increase sensitivity label coverage, increase the percentage of endorsed items. And if I click on that one, I get some hints how to start and approach and get my governance levels all in all better in the overall Fabric environment. So that is really a very good part that has been added. It's there. Maybe it's not already there in your environment, but it's slowly rolling out. And another one, the Purview hub. So we are getting closer to the Microsoft Purview chapter, but since some time, we've got the Microsoft Purview hub in Fabric. And that was a huge discussion coming from customers where they asked, hey, what is that Purview hub all about? Is it Purview built into Fabric? No, I would compare it to the governance tab I've shown you in the One Lake catalog, where we can have a closer look about the governance level in our environment, like how many of my items are classified, how many are distributed, and how many have been assigned the highly confidential flag. We can have a closer look at the sensitivity labels. We see, okay, we've got some that have no label applied, endorsements, domains. So how it breaks down, how it comes down from the finance. So we see, okay, sales and how many items are there. So item type and how they are distributed. So everything as I've talked to you about, all the different items, all the different artifacts, all the different metadata that can be added. There are different ways where you can have a closer look, like for example, the Purview hub in Fabric, to see, okay, I'm missing some pieces over there, and also the Govern tab in the One Lake data catalog. And with that, I am at the end of almost at the end of the first chapter. It's monitoring. So we have some pieces how we can monitor all the information in Fabric. Maybe you've seen the capacity monitoring about how many of those capacity units are already used by your artifacts. We've seen the Purview hub, we've seen, or I've not shown you the monitoring of some different jobs, but there are other ways around where we can have a closer look at all the inventory in our environment. And there is a community initiative which is called Fabric Unified Admin Monitoring. And the links are in the slides, and they are ready for download. And what it provides you is an overview about your landscape. And what you get is the pipelines, the notebooks that really take out the tenant settings, the usage statistics, the distribution of the different Fabric items. And what you get, and I filtered that one down to the reports. Let's start with the overview report. What we get is a graphical overview about our Fabric environment, starting from different capacities, the locations, and so on and so forth. And it's really a good thing to try that one out. It's quite easy to install it in your environment. It takes some time to fill, but what you get, it's the distribution. Okay, my capacities are over here. How many pipelines I do have, for example, over there. The capacities, the workspaces, and to end that one up, all the tenant settings. And a great overview, and I like that view much better compared to the original settings page, because we can set and filter to data model settings, for example. And it filters down and we see some of those settings in there. So Fabric Unified Admin Monitoring, very cool to get all the monitoring information. And with that, I'm at the end of the Fabric chapter. So are there any questions from the audience?
Yeah, so the first question is, what best practices should organizations follow when implementing governance policies in Fabric?
There are many documents out there where we can have a start, and what I can suggest is to add some of those links into the slides that I can share it afterwards.
Amazing. So just second question there is, great session, Wolfgang, very informative. I'm only starting my journey within the unified governance space while I'm very familiar with the M365 side of Purview. In terms of applying sensitivity labels, you mentioned that within Fabric, if you apply a label to one resource, as a result, all connected resources will then inherit the label. One, does the same apply to other solutions on the governance slide, in brackets, first and third party, e.g. SQL, AWS, etc.? And then number two, is there any option to break the inheritance? For example, I require the connection between resource and items to still be in place for some technical reason, but I don't want my labels to be inherited by any other resource that I'm not directly applying the label to.
Very good question. Yeah. The first one, there is some connection between different services. Not all inherit or give back the information to other systems, but imagine, for example, you've got an Excel file stored in OneDrive that has a sensitivity label applied. You connect Power BI to that one. The Power BI semantic model inherits the sensitivity label from there. Some others are able, like if I do export to Excel from my Power BI report, that Excel file inherits the sensitivity label. For the breaking of the inheritance in that space, I have to have a closer look afterwards. I think there is an option, but I can't really answer that one to give you the right answer now.
Perfect. So the next question is in Purview.
Can we move the questions to the end? Because
of course.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah. Sounds good, Wolfgang. Thank you.
It's like the last chapter of the book to tell you more about. It's about Microsoft Purview. And what we've seen is it's not only data governance, not only the rules, not only the data catalogs you build, it's also about data governance and security. They are working better together. They have to work closer together. And 2-3 years ago, 4 years ago, Microsoft introduced Azure Purview, a data catalog, a technical data catalog. And after a year or so, they sent an email and said, Azure Purview is now Microsoft Purview. And what they did, initially I thought, okay, it's just a renaming. What they did is they integrated the security and compliance solution that came from the M365 world, and they integrated that one into the Microsoft Purview umbrella. And what we got now, when we talk about Microsoft Purview, it's a solution, a security, compliance, and data governance solution that deals with all your data along the data lifecycle. And it works. Some work better, some work not that best with structured, semi-structured, and unstructured data. So think about your Word documents in SharePoint Online, but also your lakehouses in your Fabric environment. And what we get in the Purview suite is dealing with data security, data compliance, and data governance. And today, I will focus on the data governance layer. So the data cataloging and the building some processes, some data products based on your data. Within the Purview suite, we've got 10, 15 different applications. They are all coming now together under a single portal. It's purview.microsoft.com, and you can have a closer look, not only a closer look, but also your definitions can be done in that portal over there. And with that, let's move on. So another view of the slide before, we've got the data map that actually stores the information about your data landscape. What are the services you use? What are the tables in there? What are the connections? And based on that, we've got the data governance, the data cataloging theme. So let's start with a demo of the data catalog. So what I already did is I moved to purview.microsoft.com. And with the new integrated portal, we've got all the solutions in there. And if I head over here, I got the core solutions, the risk and compliance solutions, data governance, like the cataloging thing in here, data loss prevention, insider protection. So all the pieces for security, compliance, and data governance built in here. But as I said, I will focus on the data cataloging part, so the data governance part. And we start with the data map. And the data map, it's the technical glossary, it's the technical catalog of all your sources. And when I talk about sources, what Purview allows us is we can register sources. And the list is getting longer and longer. Think about a source as a connection to your Fabric environment, to a SQL server, to an Oracle database, or to a database at Amazon, where we can say, okay, Purview, do the inventory, technical inventory. And that technical inventory is done by creating scans. And whenever that page shows up, you see some scan definitions in there. And the scan definition allows us to scope the scan. Maybe, for example, I don't want to scan all the database content, just some schemas in there. And I can apply some classification rules. And classification, similar to the endorsement, to the tagging, to the domains in Fabric, a classification in Purview, for example, can be an email address, or an Austrian passport number, or a credit card. And those classifications, so if I try to search for Austria, I get the list of classifications that are built in. And during that scan process, Purview scans the technical structure, schema, table, column, data types, and so on, but also tries to apply some classifications. So that is the technical layer over here. And what we get is the unified catalog. And with the unified catalog, what Purview provides us is the list of already scanned sources. As you've seen maybe before, I registered 15 sources in my environment. 12,000 assets are already scanned, and I can search for customer data in here. And that customer data or customer keyword brings down 128 plus information pieces, data assets, like SQL tables, like lakehouse tables. And what I can do, I can filter down, okay, I need email addresses. So if I filter down, I get 12 results in here, and I can scroll down and see customer statistics and so on, and I can open one of those data assets. Similar view like the OneLake catalog, but the Purview catalog itself, that one is a more broader approach. It's not only listing the Fabric items, it's able to scan SQL databases, Oracle, SAP, and so on, and bring those all together. So we've got the classification here for the schema itself. We can add some context, so responsibilities. And I'm gonna go back here and search for another one, the central customer list. We should see like the endorsement somewhere. Yes, that one is certified, has been certified. And what we can do, the lineage. And that one is really nice because that lineage, it's not only in Power BI, because the Power BI, the Fabric part would be here, but that is a SQL table. And if I move to the left, I see, okay, there is some data preparation in there. I've got some pipelines in there. I've got files from a data lake. I've got a database table somewhere, and I even can drag down to the column level. So that is really one of those differentiations between the one lake catalog and the Fabric data catalog, the lineage, because it's much, much more broader. So that was the technical layer, but now the business concepts are missing, because most of our business users, the key accountants, they know, like, we've got sales data, but they don't care about the technical naming of all that stuff. And what the Purview team introduced and added to the on top of the technical data layer, it's the business concept. So they added business domains, they added data products, and they added a business level based on that. So let's have a closer look on that one. So back to the unified catalog, and what we can do in our Purview environment, we can structure our data landscape in governance domains. Think about a similar concept as the domains in Fabric. As of today, they are not mapped. They have the similar name, but I can create a domain hierarchy. So we've got corporate, we've got finance down there, we've got sales in there. And with that data domain, that governance domain, we can add some more meta information, like who's responsible, what is the status, what type is it? Is it a functional unit? Is it a project or whatever? Description in there, and we can add some data products. Think about data products as the result you want to share with your other data users, like in my example, sales data. And what we did with the data product sales data in my environment is I chose, in my case, 25 different data assets. It can be less, it can be more, but in my case, all those data assets are related to sales data. So we've got the customer list, we've got some sales product information there, sales data in there. And what we did with that step is we connected the technical layer to the business layer. And now let's switch like the roles. I'm now a data user, and I would like to get more about, I need some sales data. And that is the usual approach where the key users, they don't really know what is there. And we get like a catalog search, we get back the list of information. Okay, we've got the financial information data set, and I can have a closer look in here. I see, okay, we've got some data in there, the description looks good, and I can request the access. So that is really closing the loop with the not only the technical layer, the technical data catalog, but also for the business users to subscribe and to request access. What else is in there? Well, one thing that is really, really interesting, it's about data quality. I haven't talked about data quality in this session, but data quality and the trust in your data, it's very, very important, because think about your AI capabilities. If they train on not the best data, well, the results will not be the best. And Purview provides you with some data quality checks that can be applied on the different data assets. So central customer list, let's have a closer look, but now with the role data quality, and we see, okay, we've got like 55%. It's getting better, but there is some level to reach. We can have a closer look at the structure, so data profiling is built in there, and there are the data quality rules. So you, as a data owner, you can go here, add a new rule to check for unique values, for example, and do those data quality runs and get some information out of it. What is an example? Well, it's the score. It's calculated on the rule, on the data asset level, and that one is summed up to the data product itself and summed up again and calculated at the data domain level. So you see different levels or different scopes at different levels. And as a result, Purview provides you with some actions. So you get some idea of what is actually, well, there was a problem in the data quality. Let's see, okay, we had the score fall under a certain threshold and so on. And you can take that one and assign it to yourself, start the task and so on. And at the end of the journey, you've got the reports, and those reports are built in, and you can have a look at the data governance overview, similar to the Purview Hub in Fabric, but it's much more broader because it incorporates data from different sources, SQL databases, SAP, and so on. And you see, okay, where are some access definitions missing in the data catalog and so on and so forth. So very good start and comprehensive view about all or above all your data landscape. And yeah, some examples, more explanation in the slides. I'm gonna skip those. Data quality, I've shown you that one. The Purview data quality, the actions, and the health itself, and the reports at the end. And with that, I'm at the end of my session. And well, I asked you before, so the love-hate relationship between Microsoft Fabric, data governance, and Microsoft Purview. What I can say is we've got very good support data governance-wise in Microsoft Fabric. We've got the broader data governance support in Microsoft Purview. And that is a really good thing where the Purview team renamed the data catalog in Purview to the unified catalog. So we've got, think about that, the local catalog, the one lake catalog in Fabric, but we've got the option to choose Microsoft Purview as the unified, the much more global data catalog in that one. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope there was something new in that. And well, I would go for the more hard option, the love option, that Purview, Microsoft Fabric, and data governance, they are really good fit, and new stuff is added continuously. And with that, thanks for staying until the end. And now I'm waiting for your questions.
Yeah, thank you, Wolfgang, for a great presentation demos. So we'll get into the questions and answers part. Should you wish to ask a question, please feel free to type in the questions box now. So the next question is, in Purview brackets, as we get to it, how do you manage Fabric data at the sub-item level?
Yeah, that is a good part, and that was added a month ago. Until like beginning of this year, we only had the item level, like lakehouses and warehouses, but no information about the tables that are in there. And the Purview team added the sub-item data, the sub-item artifacts into the product beginning of this year. You have to be aware there are some configuration things. I'm gonna write that down and add that to the slides, that you don't make the same mistakes as I did. Item scan, yeah, written that one down.
Perfect. So the next question is, thanks for the presentation, Wolfgang. In some sentences, what is the difference, relationship between data map and unified catalog? Thanks.
The data map in Purview and the unified catalog. Okay, good. Yeah. The data map itself is the technical structure. So the tables, the pipelines, the views that are in there, the data transformation steps that are in there, maybe some stored procedures in a database, and they are stored in the data map. So think about it as the technical data catalog. The unified catalog in Purview adds the business angle to that one. So creating domains, defining data products, adding some access definitions, some request policies. So that is all related in the unified catalog, but they are connected. As I've shown you in the demo, whenever I create a data product, I can add and relate to data assets coming out of the data map. So they are named differently, but think about the data map as the technical data catalog and the data, or the unified catalog, sorry, as the business layer upon or above that one.
Perfect. So next question is, data quality seems to be very unstable for Fabric sources, in brackets, better for other sources like Azure SQL Server. Please comment as we are focused on Fabric.
My answer is yes. Sometimes it works for Fabric and sometimes it doesn't work. I have some calls in the next weeks with the team, so let's see if I find out more. But it looks like the data quality rules and the engine are more stable with other sources compared to Fabric.
Perfect. There's a lot of questions in, and that's all the time we have for it. Is it okay if they directly message you on LinkedIn? Is that the best, or what's the best for you?
Yeah, just connect using LinkedIn or whatever. Send me those questions and I will try to answer them. Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you, Wolfgang. So on behalf of the ESPC community, we'd like to extend a big thank you again, Wolfgang, for taking time out to carry this webinar. Really appreciate it. So that's the end of today's webinar. You'll find this webinar and more at sharepointeurope.com/resource center. Thanks again for all of you for joining us today. I hope you join us again soon. Take care.
Thank you, and treat your data better. Bye.
Thank you.